Yo, welcome to the podcast show. We got a special guest, my guy, Matt McLeggon, former D1 athlete, Hooper. Now he's an advertising tech exec, helping monetize sports globally. What's up, Matt? How you doing, bro?
Hey guys, yeah, thanks for the warm welcome. Good to be here.
Welcome, man.
If you want to just do a mini intro, where you from, where you currently live, and what's your role right now, obviously.
Yeah, so I was born. So my parents met in New York City. I was born in upstate New York, actually, but I mostly grew up in and around New Haven, Connecticut. Great little city, home of Yale, best pizza in the country. Check it out if you haven't been. And since then, we can get into it, but I've kind of been all over the place. But I now call Los Angeles my home. I've been here about 3 years. It's amazing. I don't miss the winter. I do miss my people on the East Coast. And right now I'm in advertising technology. So among other things, we are putting ads into streaming sports and streaming content in general. And it's a pretty cool place to be. Obviously, the TV industry is transforming. The way sports are monetized is transforming in a lot of different ways. So good point in time.
Yeah, dope, man. Well, let's take it back to Brown. And what was it like going to a Ivy League school and balancing out sports and hoops and stuff,
Good question. I mean, on one hand, I was a history major. So not to say that was easy, but I would say, yeah, I mean, it was crazy challenging. We're D1, but we're not Duke, right? I think like the coaching staff certainly acted as if they thought we were there for sports only. So yeah, it was tough. I mean, I couldn't do it today. In some ways, like the off season was harder than the season, right? Because like you get to school in the fall, double sessions, triple sessions. Sometimes like it's 8 a.m. and it's breakfast and you've had like 3 hours running, lifting, and hoops. And so you don't want to go to class. You have to go to class again, even if you're a history major. But yeah, it was definitely a lot to balance. I had a lot more energy in those days. I'm 44 now. When I was 18, 19, I could pull it off. Probably wouldn't be able to pull it off today.
Hey, man, I feel that.
Let me ask you something, Matt. What did going to Brown and getting your MBA from Cal Berkeley Business School teach you that still influences your approach in business and leadership today?
It's a good question. It's in some ways it's hard to answer because I feel like it's sometimes it's hard to realize when you learn something or the impact of it once you know it, right? So I think couple things. And again, I'm 44. I feel like your 40s are the age where you kind of start to really understand the things people have been telling you your whole life. And one of those things is your friend group matters. The people around you like really matters. I was never one of those people that, wanted to like handpick my friends and be like, all right, I'm only going to hang out with people that are like doing things or reflect where I want to see myself. But I did end up by virtue of going to those schools, around some people that have done some amazing things. Like when I look around and see where friends are from undergrad, where friends are from grad school, it's humbling. Like people are doing just like really amazing things, like CEOs running their own companies. It'd be possible for me to look at my friend group and be cocky because again, it's humbling. I feel kind of lucky to be part of that group. And so I think if I was going to pick one lesson, it's like, listen, like the people you have around you makes a difference. And I don't know what that is, right? Like Brown, obviously, there's a bar to get in, but I don't think it's just that. I think your circle really matters. I think the people around you sort of just inherently pull you in a particular direction, and then if your friends are all kind of headed in one way and doing the right things, it tends to make you want to do the same.
For sure. They say if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room, right?
Yep, totally.
Yeah, I know you're about 6'10", right?
Mm-hmm. 6'9",
Around that.
6'9"
So you ever had a dream of playing overseas or maybe playing in the NBA? Do you ever have that dream?
Yeah, I had that dream like so many other kids. I think probably a lot of people. At a certain point, you start to suspect that maybe that is not your path. Go through high school, even late in college. Like, I'm not going to say the path from the Ivy League to the NBA hasn't been traveled, but it's not well traveled, right? So
Jeremy Lin, though.
Jeremy Lin, he's one of the few in recent times. Yeah, I mean, I wanted to be like Mike. I will say I was late to basketball, even despite being tall. So I actually grew up playing soccer. My dad is from Jamaica. So me and my older brother, we were playing soccer age 4 and 5. Played soccer my entire life, played through high school. Was my first love sports wise. I didn't really do like youth basketball thing, which is crazy. In hindsight, probably should have. But I actually started playing basketball literally my first day of high school, freshman year. I'm sitting in the cafeteria And the coach runs up to me and he's like, you're playing hoops. And I was like, okay. And I was tall. So it was kind of not forced on me, but it found me because of my height. And yeah, so we kind of get into the path and what was working, what wasn't working basketball wise. But I was definitely late to the party, but I did kind of see myself playing, but I didn't suffer under those illusions for very long. I would say.
Yeah. Well, after school, man, you made pivot sales and advertising, right? How did that transition go and stuff?
A lot of things I would have done. I'm happy with my path. A lot of things I would have done differently if I was doing it, knowing what I know now. And one of them was like in college, I'm obviously at Brown, like tremendous networking opportunities there, like crazy connections. I didn't really do like, the internship thing. During the summers, I was like working construction. One summer, I was working as a bouncer. So I was making money during the summer. I wasn't in Manhattan lining up some career. So senior year, I'm kind of scrambling a little bit. Other folks had their jobs lined up. I ended up getting a job for a tech startup in Washington, D.C., moved to D.C., and then was doing kind of tech startup sales for a bunch of years. And then I got into media and tech kind of a roundabout way. I decided to go back to school, went to business school. And despite what they tell you, like most people that go to B school will tell you they had some grand master scheme and this was a piece of it. But 90+% of the people there just want a career change of some kind. And so I was in that camp. I was doing the sales thing, and ironically enough, I've sort of found my way back to not frontline sales, but sales. But I kind of felt stuck in sales, and it felt at the time other careers like marketing or PR or product. You have like a career, like sales. It felt like you have a good quarter, you make a little money. You have a bad quarter, you might not have a job. And I kind of just wanted to get out of a pure sales role, and it's really hard to do. If you guys have ever applied to a job where you're not the exact fit, well, guess what? There's 50 people that have done that exact job before that are also applying. It's really hard. So, I went to business school just to have the option of doing something different. And, we can talk about specifics, but eventually found my way into media and technology and monetizing streaming TV.
That's awesome, man. From your perspective, what's the most exciting thing happening in streaming advertising right now?
I mean, the most exciting thing is just that there is streaming TV, right? Like television in the US, from an advertising standpoint alone, is still a $70 billion industry. So, and of course, you still have like subscription fees you're paying to the cable companies, but that's just advertising. And that's all being transformed. The question is whether it's going to be 5 years or 10, but streaming is the future. And so that's like, it means a lot of things from an advertising standpoint. It's upended the whole advertising model because traditional TV, really two kinds of advertising with a third that was almost unimportant. So you either had national advertising where everyone sees the same ad. So no matter who you are, what demographic you're in, you see the same ad. You're watching a Bulls game, you see the same ad at halftime. There's always been like local advertising too, where, out of 2 minutes an hour, a local sales team is selling you an ad that's targeted just by where you live. So think of it as like your zip code. And then there's a little bit of more targeted advertising, but mostly that's what you had in national TV. And so you're kind of targeting certain content, you're targeting certain times of day, you're doing a lot of things to try to reach the audience you want. But streaming TV works like the internet. So the average data company in the advertising space knows 1,400 things about a US adult. So that's browsing history, online purchase records, offline purchase records, property records, car records. So what that means is that you're being reached with a very targeted ad, and kind of the combination of the reach and scale and excitement of television, particularly live sports, which we should talk more about, with the precise targeting of digital advertising is pretty powerful. Because it's not just who do I want to target, it's also how much will I pay to target that person. And it's also what message do I want to reach them with. I could be selling a shoe and want to target both of you, but want to show you a different ad creative.
So I got a quick question because we were talking about it on the last show with Boyd. And he mentioned how important it is for the first couple seconds of an ad to really grab you. What does that number look like to you? Is it 2 seconds, 3 seconds, 4 seconds?
I think it depends. I actually think the creative is really powerful, but the reason buyers are still paying top dollar for TV ads when you can buy display banners when you're browsing online, you can buy YouTube ads where there's a cat playing with a ball of yarn, right? People are still paying top dollar for television for sports because context matters. They call TV a lean back experience. You're kind of lean back and engaging on a big screen, sight, sound, and motion, right? It's a big screen that matters too. Sports is kind of the opposite. Sports is like a lean forward, edge of your seat experience where you're kind of like tuned in, you're engaged, you're receptive to messaging in a way that you're not watching other types of content. So I agree with Boyd. I think you only have so long to connect with the consumer when you run an ad, but I think actually the context of where that's being viewed matters at least as much as the ad itself.
Right. So we talk about sports a lot, and you mentioned sports advertising and sports media and all that. Where do you see like streaming and sports? Where do you see the big opportunities in that sports advertising?
Yeah, I mean, so some of it's what I just said in terms of you're reaching a consumer on a big screen. In the medium television, they're most engaged. In the sub medium sports, where they're most engaged, and you're marrying that with like the granular targeting and audience targeting and specific messaging of digital. So it's just a really powerful combination. One other thing I'll throw in there is that buyers are even more excited about sports than ever, just because every other type of television has mostly gone VOD. Meaning, like, it used to be true that there's something about the community of watching an event at the same time that matters to advertisers, right? And it used to be if you watched a sitcom, everyone watched it Monday night at 8. Now, like TV viewing, because of streaming, like people watch it whenever they want. So it's in terms of content that's actually happening in the moment in time that you watch it. It's sports, it's stuff like the Grammys, but mostly sports. And that's part of the reason people are so engaged, because it's happening right now. There's also, like, with technology, there's really an ecosystem of engagement around live sports. There's people are texting, they're tweeting, or whatever you call X now. They're gambling around sports. So you just have like tons and tons of interest and engagement happening around sports, and kind of how that looks is obviously evolving, but it's always been important to advertisers. But now that, like, it's one of the only ways you can reach advertisers that are engaged in an event that's happening in real time.
Right. I've lived in San Francisco, Portland, in LA. Now you lived in LA, SF, and New York. How has those cities shaped you in professional manner and personal manner too?
Yeah, good question. Some of the answers are unique to the city. Some of it is just kind of where I was in my journey in the time that I lived there. And
Right.
Kamal's laughing because we used to hit it pretty hard in San Francisco.
Yeah, I mean, it was fun, bro.
In the heyday. Yeah, I mean, San Francisco moves out there to like get a master's degree to kind of further my education. It was 2008. So it was also just an interesting point in time. We just had the global financial market collapse. Silicon Valley was already Silicon Valley, but I feel like entering that part of the country at that point in time and like really becoming ingrained in that world at that point in time was just like an incredible learning experience, right? Like you had a lot of really smart people with an entrepreneurial mindset, all kind of grinding it out and building what we know today in terms of Silicon Valley. So I would, besides being really fun, and Kamal, obviously we had an amazing crew out there and everyone's kind of
a great time, man. We had a great time.
Good times. But I think San Francisco was just like an amazing learning experience for me, in part because of grad school, but not just because of grad school. And then New York, of everywhere I've lived, New York feels the most like home to me still. It's just like something about the energy of New York, the diversity of New York. There's something for everyone there, right? You can stay within a 1 block radius and have any kind of food you want, any kind of experience you want. So why did I leave? Well, wanted to have a house with a yard, and you don't really do that in New York. At least can't do that in New York. I'd be out in Jersey, and LA is big enough where you can kind of have that backyard, but still feel like you're in the city.
To dig a little deeper, I mean, you kind of answered the question, but what's one thing that each of those cities gave you that you couldn't have gotten anywhere else?
I think, yeah. So San Francisco, that education in like the culture of Silicon Valley. I think New York, I don't really know how to articulate it, but New York really is kind of the epicenter of the world culturally, I think. At least that's what you think if you live in the U.S. Or from the East Coast. So many things. It just, I'm a people person, so I really filter my experiences through like the people I meet and run into. And, New York, there's no better place to be if you want to meet people and you kind of you're fueled off interactions with people. LA gave me year-round sunny weather, a house, and 2 kids. So LA's been good.
Yeah, man. So being in SF and then I moved to Santa Monica, I've seen a change where there's a LA tech scene now and media, obviously. But how do you compare that to SF and New York, LA tech scene out here?
Yeah, good question. I mean, it's definitely newer. I think it also just depends. Tech is so broad. Media is so broad. Depends where you specifically are in that. For tech, like San Francisco's still where you want to be. I think for media and tech, I actually think San Francisco's probably third to New York and LA. Particularly on the TV side, all the TV companies, Paramount, Warner Brothers Discovery, Fox, like these companies are mostly based in New York. Some of them here, and here you've got a lot of like the buy sides, agencies, advertisers. I think San Francisco is great, but I think a lot of people would move to LA if they could, just because of the weather. And I think if you're at that intersection of media and tech, LA is easier.
Called Silicon Beach now, right? Is that
Silicon Beach.
Yeah. Sticking tech, how does the athlete mindset show up in a way to lead teams in like the ad tech space?
Yeah, I mean, I could talk about this one for an hour. I think, not everyone plays sports. You don't have to play sports to learn these things. But I think certainly, I actually think the ingredients to success are similar no matter what you're doing. And I think if you played sports as a kid, you learned a lot of these values as a kid. The one that my head goes to immediately is sort of just the whole habit, not just the knowledge of it, but the habit of prepare, perform. Understanding that how you practice is going to be how you perform in the moment, whether that's a sports match or a presentation or a panel, just sort of having that routine of like, all right, I need to do 1,000 reps before I do this in front of people. I had a coach who I didn't particularly like, but one thing he said that stuck with me was always like, you got game speed. So if you're in layup lines or shooting jump shots, he was like, you got to do it as if you're in the game. That's something I take with me in the professional setting. And the other one is just, it's a people game, just like sports. It's one thing to know the X's and O's, but it's at least as important to understand like the psychology of leadership and the psychology of motivating people. And I think like that's something I didn't know in the early part of my career is like I kind of viewed like my job as my job. And I thought like dealing with people and like invariably dealing with people politics was kind of like off to the side. Now I understand that isn't the job, right? If you've done something, but you can't communicate it to the people that need to know it, you're not doing your job. If you can't get people on your side that need to be on your side, you're not doing your job. And I think the same is true in sports. It's a psychology and leadership exercise as much as it is a skill or athletic endeavor.
That's awesome. Hey, Matt, what advice would you give to young athletes or grads trying to break into sales or sports media content?
Another one I could go a lot of different directions. I think one thing that's worked for me is find something new. I've been in streaming TV for 15 years now, but I remember having this thought even 5 or 6 years in, and I was, man, most industries I'd be still getting coffee for someone. But streaming TV at that time was only 6 years old. So now it's 15 years old. So there's people that know more than me, certainly, but there's no one that's really been doing this longer than me. So I think as you're evaluating your career or the start of your career, look for things that are new. One example right now is AI. AI is working its way into sports, technology, into media. And so like become an expert at something, pursue something that's really early. And that way you won't have as much catching up to do and can kind of even be the expert in a remarkably short period of time.
Great advice.
Any big things coming up? Anything to keep our eye on in sports media, like AI, like you mentioned?
Yeah, I mean, AI is going to transform advertising because we already had already streaming TV is remarkably targeted again in terms of who you want to reach, the message you want to send them, and how much you want to pay to put your message in front of them as an advertiser. AI is going to supercharge all of that. And, people throw around, well, I'll take a step back. I'd say they're all using that same technology in politics now. Right. So we've seen how powerful that is. People kind of throw around the term brainwashing lightly. But I think like if I'm able to Muggz, if I'm able to understand 1,400 things about you, figure out which ones are predictive. Right. So let's say I'm selling a car. Probably your past car ownership is predictive of what you'll buy, probably your income, probably what part of the country, because if you're in Alabama, you're more likely to buy a pickup truck than if you live in Los Angeles. So you find out the things that are predictive, and then I can send you the exact message you're going to be most receptive to. Like that's powerful. And I don't want to use the term brainwashing when it comes to politics, because I think most consumers, if they're going to see ads, Well, everyone given the choice would say no ads. But if you're going to see ads, I think most consumers actually want to see ads that are relevant to them, right? Like if you don't have kids, you don't care about a Pampers ad. You probably care about things that you're actually a good fit for. But there's also other applications for those kinds of technologies.
So we asked this question on all of our podcasts, and we'd love to hear from Matt. Who you got? Who's the GOATs in your opinion? We got MJ, Braun, or Kobe.
You want like a multiple choice answer?
No, we'll go top. We'll go. Who's your GOAT?
Okay. I'm gonna say, so before I get to the answer, I feel like this, like best rapper of all time, like any of these combos, it'll never get resolved because like everyone has a different definition of what that means. Is it like best in their prime, most longevity, most championships? Everyone's got their own opinion. For me, Jordan is, I think I'd call him the GOAT. And the reason is not just because of basketball. The reason is that Jordan was the first global brand as an athlete. So he sort of changed the whole game of athletics and marketing and sponsorships and television. And there'll never be another Michael Jordan, not because there'll never be a better player. I think there already has been better players, but because of that, he's going to kind of stand on his own. I think LeBron is a more complete player. I think LeBron gets knocked because after Jordan, everyone was looking for the next Jordan. And so Kobe was, very close to a duplicate of Jordan. LeBron is a more athletic Magic. He's not shoot first, he's pass first. So he was just a different kind of player. He doesn't have the Jordan fire. Like I think people are attracted to the Jordan persona and they see that as, if you're the MVP, this is how you have to act. I think, LeBron's just a different guy. Like I think his magic is almost just his evenness, right? Like you see moments of fire from LeBron, but it's his evenness, particularly late in his career, like end of a game on the line. He's just zen. And so that appeals to some people it doesn't appeal to, and I get it. But I would say, yeah, Jordan GOAT because of what he represented, LeBron GOAT in terms of best player of all time.
That's what's up.
All right, man. So who is your top five forwards in NBA history? It could be Larry Bird. It could be Bron, Karl Malone, Tim Duncan, whoever you got.
All right. Some of these players, probably there's some debate about what their position is, but I'll say LeBron number one, Scottie Pippen, Karl Malone, Larry Bird. And you could go a few ways with this top last spot. I'm going to go with Dr. J.
Dr. J, man. Yeah, man, bringing the old school. That's dope. Well, thank you, Matt. Man, you gave some great insight on sports advertising in general, man. Any final words you want to shout out, like your socials, LinkedIn,
Put it on the screen. Yeah, great to connect with you guys. Would love to come back at some point and look forward to seeing the next episode.
Appreciate you, Matt.
Thank you, guys. Take care.
All right, man. We're out. Okay,
Thanks.
Matt.
All right.